Greetings, everyone. It is a little bit of an overcast and very humid again morning here in southeast Georgia. It was pretty clear when I was out for my morning run. I get up at like 5 a.m. To run a not very far distance, not very fast, but I'm working myself up to it. It's a good way to just kind of keep my heart going. But when I was running, the skies were like super clear. I could see the stars. I mean, as best you can. Living, about 30, 40 miles away from the edge of a metro area. But I could see the stars and it was nice. But now it's getting pretty cloudy out there. But oh man, it's so humid. It's so humid. But it's not too bad. I'd rather be super humid than super dry. Personally, if you're not swimming through the air, it's not worth breathing to me. So, which would be great because I'm going to be vacationing in the Rocky Mountains. I cannot speak. Here soon to go visit family in about a couple weeks. So I'll probably have a nosebleed and I'll probably feel like from the thin, dry air. So we'll see how that goes. We are about halfway through the Marketplace Morning Report. They are talking about the infrastructure issues surrounding the floods in Texas. They had already talked about how there was actually a bill in the Texas legislature, the state legislature, that was supposed to help beef up flood prevention, and it failed to pass, which is very sad because there was a lot of dumb bills that were taking up time in the Texas legislature, if you follow that at all. I do a little bit just because I have friends who still live over there, and Texas is kind of like, feels like it's the center of just dumb bills that are made to trigger people, which in all reality is just a waste of political breath that's not helping, normal working class Americans. So let's get back into the Marketplace Morning Report. It's going to be the tail end of it, so let's see where we are.
Reach out to us, and in the very beginning it was primarily structural engineers and architects, and it was due to the homeowners contacting their development teams and looking for a faster fireproof solution.
But you're seeing plans now come across your desk for rebuilding residences, single-family residences using steel.
Oh, absolutely. All steel framing and all completely panelized.
So there's a prefab play.
They might be
here,
talking about
but there's also
the building from the California fires.
Yeah. To this, right? Nothing's fireproof, but steel can be more fire resistant.
The studs themselves don't really have a flash point, so the only way that you start to see the fires actually expand is if the exterior of the house is wrapped in something that's flammable, or you end up getting so much heat through the studs that you hit the flash point of the materials on the inside. But the studs themselves, they're completely fire resistant.
Let's talk a little bit about the economics of this. First of all, before the wildfires 6 months ago, was it cost effective to build a house using this steel approach?
Traditionally, steel framing is more expensive than timber framing. On average, in Orange County, it has a tendency to land all in at around $75 a square foot.
I'm behind
where wood traditionally
semi
is going to land
going
around
onto the highway
$65 a square foot.
on a loop-de-loop.
The thing that
this is going to be so slow
from
and
those
painful.
numbers is our approach. Because we're manufacturing every stud for where it goes, we don't have waste or droppage. So in traditional framing, you would average anywhere between 10 and 15% material loss, just because sticks are coming in a 10-foot section, the ceiling height is 8 feet, so we're cutting 2 feet off of every piece. Where for us, we're starting with this 5,000-foot long coil, and then that's continuously running through the machines, and that's what's giving us every stud. So because of that, we're at a sub 1% loss, which makes it so we're hyper competitive with wood.
That's fascinating, but even now,
That's
all
cool.
this demand from the fires and early...
I wonder if that makes more standardized houses, though.
To 50%.
Oh yeah,
which are ugly,
we've definitely been feeling that. We had our last steel.
I'd rather be able to live in a house that is
and we were paying
that looks like the house next to it than live in no house at all.
Pound, depending on what size we were bringing in and what the quantity was. We're right now paying 91 cents a pound. But fortunately for us, the cost of steel is about 30% of the actual total pricing. So we've seen about a 40% increase in a 30% line item. So it hasn't been too bad.
Michael Furlano, founder of All Metal Framing in Orange County, California. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And in Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio, Marketplace Morning Report.
I hope they're able to build those homes good, you know? Bum, bum.
This is 90.3 FM, WPBQ
and WPBQ HD Kingsland,
part of the Georgia Public Broadcasting
Radio Network.
Live from the GPB Newsroom, I'm Catherine Calloway. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones has made his long-anticipated entry into the 2026 governor's race official. The Jackson Republican Tuesday highlighted his ties to Donald Trump and conservative policies. GPB's Sarah Callis.
Jones announced his candidacy with a video posted to his X account. His campaign promises include eliminating the state income tax, increasing penalties for fentanyl dealers, and keeping transgender women out of women's sports.
Every day, I go to work hard and never quit fighting for your family and mine.
Jones's campaign says he already has $14 million on hand. He will face off against Attorney General Chris Carr in the Republican primary next year. Governor Brian Kemp is term limited, so he cannot run for re-election next year. For GPB News, I'm Sarah Callis.
The Teamsters
Reels up here in Georgia.
Against a proposed cost-saving measure at Atlanta-based UPS. Those plans include eliminating 20,000 jobs, and UPS is also offering first-ever buyouts.
We'll see if the Dems put up some limp paper bag of a candidate against them.
Says the move violates the company's contract with the union.
UPS has welcomed a dangerous fight to its doorstep. And we need to be prepared, we need to be ready and courageous enough to call out UPS for what they are, another greedy, profit-driven corporation.
UPS calls the severance offers generous and voluntary.
Support your unions.
Committed to its agreements. This is GPB. Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Kristen Wright.
United,
the governor of Texas
we
says
bargain.
Search teams will not stop looking until
alone we beg.
Found. Authorities have set up a hotline for families to call in hopes of locating their loved ones. The Guadalupe River rose more than 25 feet in 2 hours last Friday. NPR's Sergio Martinez Beltran is in Kerr County, the hardest hit area.
Governor Greg Abbott says 161 people are still missing in Kerr County alone due to the Texas floods. That figure includes 5 Camp Mystic campers and 1 counselor. The overall death toll in the state is 109. That number includes 94 confirmed fatalities in the Kerr County area and 15 in other areas of the state. The governor says that the death toll is higher than when Hurricane Harvey hit Texas in 2017. The governor says the search and rescue operations will continue until everyone who's missing is accounted for. Sergio Martinez Beltran, NPR News, Kerrville, Texas.
During a press conference yesterday, Governor Abbott deflected questions about emergency protocols. He says an upcoming special legislative session will address protecting Texans from future natural disasters. The Supreme Court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to resume mass federal layoffs. NPR's Elena Moore reports the justices did not comment on the legality of the executive order directing those job cuts.
The unsigned order did not list how all 9 justices voted, but it included a dissent from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and a concurrence from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who argued that lower courts could still address whether Trump's plan was constitutional. The White House is treating the decision as a win, saying in a statement that it's, quote, another definitive victory for the president. Trump signed the executive order back in February, but it was later blocked. Opponents say the plan will result in hundreds of thousands of federal workers losing their jobs. Elena Moore, NPR News.
Just in time for more natural disasters.
Consumer genetic testing company 23andMe is on hold again. NPR NPR's John Ruish
Time for
reports the delay appears to
corporations to dump more crap into our waterways because there won't be regulators. More storms to ravage our communities because there won't be forecasters.
A bankruptcy court in late June approved the sale of 23andMe to a non-profit.
More diseases that won't be cured for decades because we're ripping apart our scientific infrastructure. It's great. It's absolutely
The
great.
bankruptcy court denied a motion on Monday to halt the sale, but a district court granted California a 3-day
But
stay
hey,
and scheduled a hearing on the matter on Thursday.
Jeff Bezos got another
Argues
tax
that the
cut.
deal would violate state law and harm Californians. John Ruich, NPR News.
Your boss's boss's boss got a tax cut.
A new analysis
That's how I see it.
confirms climate change intensified the heat wave that gripped Europe this summer, and that the more intense heat wave led to thousands of deaths. NPR's Alejandra Barunda reports.
A team of scientists from a group called World Weather Attribution figured out that the heat wave was several degrees hotter than it would have been without human-caused climate change. And the supercharged temperatures likely contributed to over 1,500 deaths in the 12 cities they looked at, which included London, Milan, and Athens. Frederica Otto is the lead of the WWA group and a climate scientist at Imperial College London.
These numbers represent real people who have lost their lives in the last days due to the extreme heat, and 2/3 of these would not have died if it wasn't for climate change.
In just the past few years, extra hot heat waves have
crazy.
contributed to tens of thousands of deaths across Europe. Alejandra Barunda, NPR News.
Europe's recent heat wave is causing dry conditions too and fueling wildfires. And intense wildfires raging in the northeast of Spain. 18,000 residents have been ordered to stay indoors while some people have been evacuated. The fire has burned more than 7,000 acres. Philadelphia's municipal workers' strike is over. The strike lasted a week and stopped residential trash pickup and other services. The union and city leaders say they've now reached a tentative agreement. Mayor Sherelle Parker says the contract increases workers' pay by 14% over the next 4 years. I'm Kristen Wright, and this is NPR
So
News.
it's gonna keep up with inflation for the next 4 years, really,
Support for NPR
which is still
comes from
good.
NPR stations.
All wages
Other
should keep up with
contributors
inflation. That should be built into the system already. That minimum wage tracks with inflation, and all wages track with yearly inflation. So when you get a 2% bonus, if you do a salary job or whatever, and however long it takes between evaluations or pay increased judgments, if your company even provides them at all, when you get that 2% bump, well, really you just kept up with inflation for the last year. If it was not a bad inflationary year, if it was like 2022, 2023, 2%'s not enough. 8% would have had to been the amount needed to keep up with inflation. So
A closer look at the use of masks by immigration agents coming up in 15 minutes.
Ooh.
Right here on GPB.
hopefully my signal stays good for another 15 minutes to hear about ICE's use of masks. I mean, it's crazy. We have effectively a police force under the jurisdiction of the executive with no oversight, and they're allowed to mask up so you can't identify them. They don't carry real warrants. I'm sure y'all have heard ICE warrants don't carry the same weight as a judicial warrant signed by a real judge. ICE warrants are basically just a please come with us. But if they can catch you and if they can, pin you to the ground and handcuff you, well, that warrant has officially become real. But you don't have to respond to one of them. You can stay in your home. And they have no authority over American citizens. So it's crazy. We have mass police black bagging people in the streets. And we've already had at least 2 American citizens that I know of get deported. One's down in Brazil. I'm not sure where the other one is off the top of my head, but I do remember that one of them has cancer, and it's just crazy. Just remember that. Just remember, we're black bagging, just normal people, just trying to get by, work jobs, achieve the American dream.
I mean, yes, it's hard.
And we're putting them into camps.
After floods before. Now, granted, it wasn't
It's sad.
like this,
It's disgusting.
We'll rebuild again. I mean, it's no other way to put it.
These are small towns, but they're filling up with first responders and out-of-town volunteers. Helicopters are flying overhead, and swiftwater rescue boats are zooming along the Guadalupe River. Now, officials have asked that those volunteers sign up with official groups like the Red Cross instead of self-deploying, and they're asking people to keep drones out of restricted airspaces. A couple days ago, Kerrville city officials say a private drone struck a helicopter, forcing it to make an emergency landing.
That's
They say
terrifying.
that help is appreciated, but needs to be coordinated.
Now, Texas Governor Greg Abbott visited one of the hard-hit areas, the community of Hunt, yesterday evening. What did he have to say?
He says first responders will continue working until every missing person is accounted for. He also says investigations into the preparation and response will probably begin later this week as state lawmakers prepare for a special session to address the disaster. That said, he refused to assign responsibility for what residents described as a lack of warning.
Every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, and we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions.
Kerr County does not have an outdoor warning system that sounds during flash flooding, but it does have a text-based warning system. My colleagues in the Texas newsroom have reported on issues with the timing and reach of those local alerts sent out to residents to warn of the flooding. All of those issues are likely to come up as investigations kick off.
So when it comes to the state government, more details are coming out about state inspections at Camp Mystic shortly before the flooding. What happened there?
Right, this is the all-girls summer camp where more than 24 people died, mostly children. The Associated Press obtained documents, which we have not reviewed, showing inspectors with the Department of State Health Services here in Texas signed off on the camp's emergency plans just 2 days before the flooding. The department and Camp Mystic have not responded to our requests for comment.
All right, that's Dominic Anthony Walsh.
So they did have
from
emergency
Houston
plans.
Public Media. Dominic, thank you.
Thank you, A.
As you just heard, people are starting to raise questions about why so many people did not get effective warnings ahead of the flood disaster last weekend in Kerr County, Texas. Back in 2016, county commissioners debated whether to install a flood warning system that would have set off loud sirens. That system was never built. Former Kerr County Commissioner Tom Moser pushed for the warning system, and he's with us on the line now to tell us more about it. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So tell me why you and some others called for a flood warning system nearly a decade ago.
Well, it was in 2015, I believe, there was a major flood south of Kerrville in Wimberley, Texas, I believe along the Blanco River. Excuse me if that's not exactly correct on the river. But after that flood, which killed a family and perhaps some others, they installed or created and developed a flood warning system, which included sirens. But to advance that and to notify the system to activate, they put in markers along the river and sensors of what the river level was. So I looked at that at that time and brought it back to Kerrville, had an engineer do an expansion of defining the project, which could be built in Kerrville, which included sensors along the river and other types of devices to say there's an imminent flood and to have sirens as part of it. We had a meeting with all county officials, city officials, and other people in the community, 40 or 50 people. I chaired that meeting, and one of the things that he said, here's the plan, here's what we want to do. It's going to cost, X number of dollars, $1 million+. But one of the things that came out was people did not like the idea of sirens throughout the county. So we listened to that, and we took sirens out of the project just because there was a big resistance to sirens throughout, just primarily because sirens and other warning systems go off when they don't need to.
Oh, sometimes you have false alarms, right? Okay. But what else?
Right. So we pursued our funding with
I'd rather have a
grants.
false
We did
alarm
not
than
get
no
the funding
alarm.
from state grants, but the most
Yeah, it's terrifying,
probable cause of people dying,
Man,
and based on history,
a lot of people lost their lives.
Across low water crossings on the Guadalupe River when floods occurred.
Guadalupe.
So what we did is we put up gauges on
Oh, that
all
Texas
those
accent I miss.
crossings so people could know when it was safe to cross. And that was part of the project at that time. So that was it in a nutshell.
So do you think it was primarily the cost that was the barrier?
No.
Or people didn't think it was important, or they didn't think it was necessary?
Well, the cost was the barrier in implementing the whole program without the sirens. Yes, cost was the barrier.
Oh no, I'm losing it. I'm losing the signal. I want to listen to this one.
So here's a hard question, and as a former official, I don't know how you feel about this, but do you think that the county could have done more to warn and protect people?
Well, let me answer it this way. The county has a emergency management plan which delineates exactly what to do in case of a flood, okay? And it tells who's responsible for what and who's supporting what. So I'm sure that I don't know this factually. I'm sure they followed that emergency management plan. So I wouldn't have any comment beyond that.
So earlier this year, the state legislature failed to get a bill out of committee that would have created a statewide funding mechanism for sirens and emergency alerts. And I'm wondering if you think that this tragedy, as terrible as it was, is going to spur them to reconsider that?
Well, in a positive sense on this tragic thing, I think it will happen, okay? I think it will be more robust, more reliable, more effective, and I don't think it's going to take very long to do, probably a couple of years at most, a few $1 million, not billions, but a few $1 million to do it, and it can be done. I mean, it's just going to take, we're going to do it.
Now, we're going to leave off the radio on that positive note. The radio's getting a little, or the signal's getting a little too crunchy. So I do apologize if it started to get a little murk to the ears, you know. But yeah, no, it's unfortunate that we have to wait till huge tragedies to affect change, but sometimes it really does take, you know, something horrible to happen to make things better. But that's not a guarantee whatsoever. We have seen tragedy after tragedy happen, and there's an initial jump, you know, care, legislative sessions, meetings, and all this stuff, and then it just kind of slowly burns out like a candle, you know, and you forget about it, and then the next disaster happens, and you know, there's either a big hubbub, but maybe it's not as big as the last one, and then they just become the norm. It just becomes a way of life. I mean, we've seen this specifically with school shootings, and I think we're going to see it more with natural disasters unless we put forth that effort now and we do continuous pressure and effort on our representatives to. Jesus, God, it's loud and annoying. I'm just not a big loud car person personally. But as I was saying, pressure our representatives to, you know, secure the funding and push programs that actually help people to prevent tragedies like this from ever happening again. Texas seems like they're taking the step in that direction, but there's no guarantee it's gonna continue. And we here in Georgia need to take those steps now, because we already saw what Helene did last year. We have tornadoes that come through here with storms. We have hurricanes that will hit our coast this year, this late fall, as they do pretty much every year. And it's gonna cause a lot of damage. And I'm not sure if, you know, we've done enough since last fall to prevent another Helene from happening, and it not just being, a rough storm, for a day, and cleanup crews go out and pick up some trees and fix some power lines. It could be bad. So pressure your politicians, pressure your city and your state legislature, your reps to, get up and do something and organize. Talk to people, even just your friends about it. Talk to the people at work about it, because it's real easy to start a conversation with, man, did you see all those kids? That's real sad. And, kind of get it in their minds, because it's important, because, last week it's their kids. This week it might be your kids. And that's terrifying. I don't want to lose my kid. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to lose anything like that, especially with something that can be preventable. But yeah, no, there's hope. There is hope in this situation. There is hope. So we're going to leave it there for the day. I hope y'all have a good one. I kind of hope these clouds go away, because I like it when it's sunny more than cloudy. Though if we get a little bit of normal summer rain, I know my garden will enjoy it a good bit. So y'all have a good one.